Captain Lorax gripped the edge of his command chair as the ship shuddered again. The stellar horizon wasn't going to make it to the next planned port. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge controls. The smell of burning circuits filled the air. "Damage report," he ordered, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in the emergency lighting. His first officer, Zenith, studied the holographic display with growing concern. "Life support is failing. Hull integrity at 63%. Main drive operating at 28% capacity." "Options?" Lorax asked, already knowing the answer wouldn't be good. Zenith's skin rippled with blue stress patterns. "We are within range of only one repair facility. It's a human station." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The Vendari were proud of their advanced technology. Their ships were marvels of engineering that few other species could comprehend, let alone repair. Letting humans, barely a century, into galactic travel, touch their systems seemed unthinkable. Another explosion rocked the ship. A support beam crashed to the floor mere feet from where Lorax stood. "Set course for the human station," he ordered. "Send distress signals." Olivia Russell was just finishing her coffee when the alert sounded. Night shifts at Orbital Sanctuary were usually quiet. Most ships scheduled repairs during standard hours. Emergency calls at 3 a.m. Earth time were rare. She pressed the comm button. "Russell here, what's the situation?" "Vendari cargo vessel incoming," replied the station's AI. "Reporting critical systems failure. ETA 12 minutes. Olivia raised her eyebrows. The Vendari rarely visited human repair stations. They preferred their own facilities or the more prestigious Arcturian yards. "Wake up Morrison and Carter," she said, "and get Grant and Miller from Engineering Deck 4. By the time the Vendari ship limped into view through the observation window, her team was assembled. Frank Morrison, a man with weathered skin and steady hands who had been fixing spacecraft since before first contact. Diane Carter, whose understanding of alien systems had earned her job offers from 3 different species. Peter Grant and Susan Miller, both showing the eager energy of engineers in their first year at the station. "Never worked on a Vendari ship before," Frank said, studying the approaching vessel. "Heard they're particular about who touches their tech." "They're particular about everything," Diane replied. "But that ship looks like it won't make it to the next solar system, let alone back to Vendari space." The stellar horizon docked with a concerning screech of metal. The airlock cycle took 3 attempts to complete. Another bad sign. Olivia led her team to the docking area. The inner door finally opened, releasing a cloud of acrid smoke. 3 Vendari stumbled through, their breathing masks covering the lower half of their 4-eyed faces. The tallest one removed his mask, revealing the characteristic mouth flaps of their species. "I am Captain Lorax of the Stellar Horizon. We require emergency assistance." Olivia stepped forward. "Olivia Russell, Chief Engineer of Orbital Sanctuary. This is my team. We'll do everything we can to help." Lorax seemed to study her with all 4 eyes simultaneously. "Our systems are unique. I must warn you that Vendari technology is unlike anything you've encountered." Frank Morrison almost smiled. "With respect, Captain, that's what the Rigelians said last month, and the Taucedians before them." "We need to see the damage," Olivia said. "Can you take us to the critical areas?" Captain Lorax hesitated, then nodded to the Vendari beside him. "My engineering officer Zenith will show you, but there are sections of our vessel that remain restricted." "We understand," Olivia assured him, though she knew those restrictions might make their job difficult. "Let's start with life support and propulsion." The damage was worse than she expected. The outer hull had been punctured in 3 places. Power conduits were fused and melted. The life support system was running on backup power that would fail within hours. "You reported an asteroid strike?" Olivia asked, examining a particularly strange pattern of damage in the engine room. Zenith made the Vendari gesture of confirmation. "A rogue field unpredicted by our navigation systems." Olivia ran her hand along the torn metal. The pattern wasn't consistent with a random impact. The cuts were too clean in some places, too deliberately placed. She caught Frank's eye and His slight nod told her he'd noticed the same thing. How long will repairs take? Captain Lorax asked when they returned to the docking area. Olivia considered the question carefully. With full access to your systems and cooperation from your crew, 4 Earth days, minimum. 4 days? Zenith's skin flashed with patterns of dismay. That is unacceptable. We carry perishable cargo and have deadlines to meet. Then perhaps you should have visited an Arcturian yard, Frank said calmly. They might have told you 6 days instead. Lorax raised a hand to silence his officer. We have little choice. Begin your work, Engineer Russell. Zenith will provide limited schematics for the damaged systems. After the Vendari returned to their ship to move the crew to station quarters, Olivia gathered her team. Something's not right, she said quietly. That damage pattern isn't consistent with an asteroid strike. Weapons fire? Susan suggested. Maybe, Olivia said. But if so, why not report it truthfully? Diane shook her head. The Vendari aren't known for being forthcoming with other species. They might consider an attack embarrassing. There's something else, Peter added. Did you notice how reluctant they were to let us see certain areas, even the damaged ones? That brings me to the biggest challenge, Olivia said. They're only giving us partial schematics. We're going to be working half-blind on technology we've never seen before. Frank shrugged. Wouldn't be the first time. We can start with what we can see, then work backward. Diane, focus on the life support. That's most critical. Frank, take the hull breaches. Peter and Susan, see what you can do with the propulsion system. I'll coordinate and try to get more information from the captain. Olivia looked at each of them. This won't be easy, but that's why they came to us, whether they admit it or not. As the team dispersed to gather equipment, Olivia looked through the viewport at the damaged Vendari vessel. Something about this situation felt wrong. The damage was suspicious. The Vendari were being more secretive than their usual private nature justified. What had really happened to the stellar horizon, and what weren't they being told? She would find out. That was part of fixing ships, understanding not just what was broken, but why. What Captain Lorax didn't realize yet was that humans didn't just repair vessels. They solved problems. And sometimes that meant uncovering truths that others preferred to keep hidden. Frank Morrison wiped sweat from his forehead as he examined the hull breach on Deck 3. After 20 years of fixing everything from Earth shuttles to alien warships, he thought he had seen it all. The Vendari ship proved him wrong. This metal isn't like anything in our database, he said to Peter, who was scanning the damaged area. It seems to have some kind of memory property. See how it's trying to pull back together at the edges? Peter nodded, fascinated. Like it wants to heal itself, but something is blocking the process. Frank ran his fingers along the jagged edge. We need to understand how this works before we try patching it. One wrong move, and we might make it worse. Meanwhile, in the life support chamber, Diane Carter stared at the alien machinery with growing frustration. The Vendari engineer Zenith hovered nearby, watching her every move with all 4 eyes. This connection here, Diane pointed to a glowing blue component. What does it link to? That is restricted information, Zenith replied stiffly. His skin rippled with yellow patterns of caution. Diane put down her tools. Look, I understand your people are private about your technology, but I can't fix your life support if I don't know how it works. Apply the standard repair protocols for oxygen recycling systems, Zenith suggested. Diane crossed her arms. This isn't a standard system. These readings suggest you're using some kind of quantum entanglement to filter air. That's way beyond standard anything. Zenith's skin flashed with surprise patterns. You recognize that? I've studied theoretical applications of quantum mechanics to life support. Never seen it actually done before. She smiled. It's brilliant work. For the first time, Zenith seemed to truly look at her. You understand the principles? Enough to be dangerous, Diane admitted, but not enough to fix this without help. After a moment of internal struggle visible in his skin patterns, Zenith pulled out a small device and projected a holographic schematic. This is the connection pathway. Do not share this with others. On the bridge, Olivia stood with Captain Lorax reviewing the damage reports. Your engineer Morrison is correct about the hull material, Lorax said. It is living metal, bonded to the ship's systems. When damaged, it should repair itself using energy from our main power core. But it's not healing, Olivia noted. Why? Lorax hesitated. We do not know. This has never happened before. Olivia studied the captain's 4 eyes, wondering which pair to focus on when trying to read his expressions. Captain, my team can help better if we know what really happened. To your ship. I told you. We encountered an asteroid field. With respect, sir, I've seen asteroid damage on over 50 ships. This isn't it. Olivia pulled up images on her tablet. These cuts are too precise. In some areas, there's evidence of energy weapon impacts. Lorax's mouth flaps quivered, a sign of agitation Olivia had learned. What happens on my ship is Vendari business. When your ship is docked at my station with failing life support, it becomes my business too. Olivia softened her tone. We're not interested in your secrets, Captain. We just want to fix your ship properly. Their conversation was interrupted when Olivia's comm unit buzzed. Russell here. Olivia, it's Susan. You need to see this. Engine room, section 5. On my way, she replied, then turned to Lorax. Care to join me? In the engine room, Susan pointed to a strange device attached to the main power distributor. This doesn't match any of the schematics Zenith provided, and it's definitely not Vendari design. The device was crude compared to the elegant Vendari technology, a metal box with wires extending into the ship's systems like parasitic tendrils. Captain Lorax stared at it, his skin turning a pale shade of shock. This is not part of my ship. It looks like it's drawing power and rerouting it, Susan explained. It might explain why your living metal can't heal. This thing is stealing the energy needed for repairs. Can you remove it? Lorax asked. Susan shook her head. Not without understanding what it does first. It might be booby-trapped. By evening, the human team gathered in the station's conference room to share findings. Frank had created his own diagrams of the ship's hull structure. Diane had begun developing mathematical models of the quantum life support system. Peter and Susan had mapped the engine room anomalies. So, Olivia summarized, we have a ship with living metal that can't heal sabotaged systems and strange devices planted throughout. Captain Lorax still won't admit they were attacked. Pride, Frank suggested. The Vendari think their ships are untouchable. Or fear, Diane countered. Maybe they don't know who did this or why. The good news, Peter said, is that Zenith is starting to cooperate more. After Diane impressed him with her quantum physics knowledge, he's been more willing to share information. We have another problem, Susan added. Some of the damaged components can't be replicated with our materials. The crystalline matrix in their power system uses elements we've never seen before. Olivia considered this. What about a workaround? Instead of fixing the exact component, maybe we can reroute the system to bypass it. Possible, Susan nodded, but it would mean redesigning parts of their power distribution network. Draw up the plans, Olivia decided. I'll present it to Captain Lorax. Captain Lorax was not pleased with the proposal. You want to change the fundamental design of our ship? Impossible. The plans are sacred, passed down from our ancestors. Your sacred plans won't help if your ship can't fly, Frank pointed out bluntly. What my colleague means, Olivia interjected, is that we respect your traditions, but sometimes adaptation is necessary for survival. Zenith, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. Captain, I have observed these humans working. Their methods are unorthodox but effective. The woman Carter solved equations about our quantum filtration that took our best minds decades to develop. Lorax's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thinking. Show me these redesign plans. When Susan displayed the schematics, the captain studied them carefully. This changes the harmony of the power flow. The ship's spirit may reject it. Spirit? Peter asked. A figure of speech, Zenith explained quickly, though a meaningful glance passed between the Vendari. After hours of discussion and several modifications to respect Vendari engineering philosophy, Captain Lorax finally agreed to the changes. Proceed with your repairs, Engineer Russell, but know that you are now responsible for the soul of my vessel. As the team left to begin implementing their plans, Frank whispered to Olivia, "Did he just say we're responsible for his ship's soul?" "Different cultures, different beliefs," Olivia replied. "To them, their ships might be alive in ways we don't understand." "Well," Frank said, picking up his tools, "alive or not, we've got a ship to fix." What none of them realized was that the sabotage went deeper than they had discovered, and that the real challenge was only beginning. Susan Miller climbed through the narrow access tunnel, her flashlight revealing tangles of glowing cables. 3 days into repairs, the human team had made progress, but new problems kept appearing. She followed an unusual power signature that had shown up on her scans. "Find anything?" Peter's voice came through her earpiece. "Not yet," she replied, "but something's drawing power up here." She pushed aside a panel and gasped. Hidden behind the Vendari circuitry was another foreign device, larger than the one they'd found in the engine room. This one had a small screen displaying a countdown. "Peter, get Olivia. Now." Within minutes, Olivia and Captain Lorax were examining the device through Susan's helmet camera. "It's connected to the navigation system," Susan explained. "And it's counting down to something." "How long?" Olivia asked. "About 14 hours. It matches the time when you'd reach the Proxima trade route based on your flight plan." Captain Lorax's skin turned a deep blue, a color the humans hadn't seen before. "Can you remove it?" "Not safely," Susan said. "It has fail-safes. If we try to disconnect it, it might trigger immediately." Olivia studied the device. "This isn't random damage anymore, Captain. Someone sabotaged your ship, planting devices set to activate when you reached a specific location. They wanted to make it look like an accident." For the first time, Lorax seemed to drop his guard. 3 months ago, we hosted a diplomatic delegation from the Krev Consortium. They sought a trade agreement, but their terms were unfavorable. We refused. "You think they did this?" Olivia asked. "The Krev are known for aggressive business tactics, but this..." His mouth flaps trembled. "We are a merchant vessel. We carry food supplies, not weapons." "Well, someone wanted to make sure you never reached your destination," Susan said. "And they were willing to kill your crew to do it." Back in the main repair bay, the team gathered with the Vendari officers. The atmosphere had changed. The aliens now looked to the humans with something like hope rather than suspicion. "We found 3 more devices," Frank reported, "all connected to critical systems, all set to the same countdown." Diane pointed to a holographic display of the ship. "They're designed to work together. First, navigation fails, sending you off. Course. Then life support shuts down. Finally, the main drive overloads. A perfect chain of accidents," Peter added. "No one would suspect sabotage." "Can you stop it?" Zenith asked, his earlier arrogance replaced by genuine concern. Frank Morrison scratched his beard. "We could try to disarm each device, but one wrong move." "There's another option," Olivia said. "Instead of disarming them, we isolate them. Create a new power and control system that bypasses the sabotaged sections entirely." "Is that possible?" Lorax asked. "It's never been done on a Vendari ship," Olivia admitted. "But the principle is sound. We essentially build a secondary control system that takes over when the countdown finishes. Like a backup heart," Frank explained. "When the first one fails, the second kicks in." Captain Lorax turned to Zenith. "Your assessment?" The Vendari engineer had been working closely with Diane for days. His skin now showed patterns of deep thought rather than suspicion. "Their approach is unconventional, but I believe it could work. The challenge," Diane added, "is that we need more access to your ship's core systems, the ones you've kept restricted." A heavy silence fell over the room. The Vendari exchanged looks. "Those systems contain technologies we have never shared with other species," Zenith said quietly. "At this point," Lorax replied, "our choices are limited. Proceed. Engineer Russell, you will have full access." The next 8 hours were a blur of activity. With the restrictions lifted, the humans discovered the true marvel of Vendari engineering, a neural network that linked all ship systems in ways that mimicked a living organism. The ship didn't just have systems, it had something like a nervous system. This is why they talk about their ships having souls, Diane whispered to Olivia. The whole vessel functions like a living entity. Working with this new understanding, the team created what Frank called a secondary nervous system, a parallel control network that could take over if the main systems failed. As the countdown passed 6 hours, Olivia noticed something on one of the devices. Wait, look at this marking. The symbol etched into the metal wasn't Krev as they had assumed. It matched nothing in their database. Captain, she called to Lorax, do you recognize this? The captain examined the symbol and froze. This is impossible. This is the mark of the Heritage Guard, a radical faction of our own people. They oppose all contact with other species. Your own people did this? Peter asked in shock. If the Heritage Guard is responsible, this attack is about more than trade, Lorax explained. They would see my willingness to deal with non-Vendari as treason. This revelation changed everything. The sabotage wasn't just meant to destroy one ship. It was a political statement. With only 3 hours remaining, Admiral Gary Patterson from Earth's Orbital Defense Command contacted the station. His face appeared on the main screen, stern and concerned. Russell, our sensors detected unusual power signatures from the Vendari vessel. What's happening there? Olivia explained the situation quickly. The Admiral's expression darkened. This is now a diplomatic incident. If a Vendari ship is destroyed at an Earth facility, it could damage relations with their government. He paused. I'm sending security specialist Nicole Wright to assist. She has experience with explosive devices. When Wright arrived, she brought specialized equipment that could help isolate the sabotage devices. Tall and focused, she integrated seamlessly into the team. We don't have time to disarm all of them, she confirmed after assessment. Your bypass strategy is the best option. As the final hour approached, tension filled the repair bay. The human team and Vendari crew worked side by side, all previous barriers forgotten in the face of common danger. 50 minutes, Susan announced, monitoring the countdown. Frank looked up from his work, sweat dripping from his face. We're close. The bypass is almost ready. The question is, Diane said, will the ship accept our changes? The neural network might reject foreign input. Zenith, who had been quietly working with the ship's core systems, stepped forward. I may have a solution. Our captains have a neural link with their vessels. Captain Lorax could introduce you to the ship. Introduce us? Olivia asked. It is not done with outsiders, Lorax said. But these are extraordinary circumstances. As the countdown passed 30 minutes, Captain Lorax placed his hands on a glowing panel. The humans watched in awe as his skin pattern synchronized with pulsing lights in the ship's controls. Now, he said in a strained voice, connect your bypass. Frank and Diane made the final connections. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the ship's lights changed color from blue to green. It's working, Zenith said, wonder in his voice. The ship has accepted your changes. With 18 minutes to spare, the secondary systems came online. They would be ready when the sabotage devices activated. What none of them realized was that there was one more surprise waiting, one that would test their newfound cooperation to its limits. The countdown reached 0. Everyone in the repair bay held their breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Then alarms blared as the sabotage devices activated simultaneously. Primary navigation offline, Zenith reported, his fingers moving across the Vendari control panel. Life support failing, main drive destabilizing, bypass systems engaging, Diane called out. Lights flickered throughout the ship, then stabilized as the secondary systems took over. It's working, Frank said, eyes fixed on the readings. Power levels holding steady. A cheer rose from both human and Vendari crew members. Olivia allowed herself a moment of relief before turning to her team. Good work, everyone. Now let's make sure. Her words were cut short by a new alarm, this one from the station itself. Unidentified vessels approaching. announced the station's AI. 3. Ship's Krev design. They are not responding to hails. Admiral Patterson's face appeared on the communication screen. Russell, we have a situation. 3 ships just dropped out of FTL near your position. They're on an intercept course. The Krev? Olivia asked. Unlikely, Lorax said, studying the sensor data. These are military escorts, not merchant vessels. The Krev don't have warships. Nicole Wright stepped forward. Sir, those ships match the profile of vessels stolen from the Rigelian Defense Force last year. Intelligence suggests they were acquired by fringe groups. The Heritage Guard, Lorax whispered. They've come to finish what they started. Patterson's expression hardened. I've dispatched 2 patrol ships, but they won't arrive for at least 50 minutes. You're on your own until then. After the Admiral signed off, Olivia gathered everyone for an emergency meeting. Options? The station has minimal defenses, Frank said. Designed for space debris, not combat. Can we move the Vendari ship? Peter asked. Get it away from here? Zenith shook his head. The repairs to the main drive are incomplete. We cannot achieve FTL speed, and normal propulsion would be too slow to escape. What about the Vendari weapons systems? Nicole suggested. Are they operational? Partially, Lorax admitted, but they require the main power core to function at full capacity. Susan, who had been quiet, suddenly looked up from her tablet. What if we connected the ship's weapons to the station's power grid? We could boost them enough to serve as a defense system. Is that even possible? Olivia asked. The technologies are completely different. Diane tapped her fingers on the table, thinking. The quantum interfaces we've been studying in their life support, theoretically they could be adapted to serve as power converters. And we'd need to integrate their targeting systems with our sensor array, Frank added. The calibrations alone would take days under normal circumstances. We don't have days, Olivia said. We have 30 minutes at most. Before those ships are in weapons range, Captain Lorax stood up. Then we must work together as we never have before. My crew will handle the weapons systems. Your team must create the power integration. The next 20 minutes were a frantic race. In the main engineering bay, Frank and Susan worked to create physical connections between the station's power grid and the Vendari ship. Diane and Zenith, now working like longtime partners, reprogrammed the quantum interfaces to handle the power conversion. Peter and Nicole worked on the sensor integration, merging human and Vendari targeting systems. It was patchwork engineering at its finest. Cables running through hallways, temporary junctions held together with emergency sealant, and code being written on the fly. Incoming ships at 5 minutes to weapons range, the station AI announced. We're not ready, Frank said, wiping sweat from his forehead. The power connection is unstable. Olivia looked at the makeshift system they had created. Under normal circumstances, she would never authorize such a dangerous jury rig. But these weren't normal circumstances. Captain Lorax, she said, can your neural link with the ship help stabilize the connection? The captain hesitated only briefly. It has never been attempted, but yes, I believe it could work. He took his position at the ship's control panel, placing his hands on the neural interface. Engineer Carter, when I give the signal, activate the power transfer. Diane stood ready at the controls. Standing by. The station shuddered as the first warning shot from the approaching vessels passed nearby. 4 minutes to optimal weapons. Range, the AI updated. Lorax closed all 4 eyes, his skin rippling with concentration patterns. Now! Diane activated the system. Power surged from the station into the Vendari ship. Warnings flashed across every screen as the connection threatened to overload. It's too much, Frank warned. The conduits can't handle this load. Lorax's skin began to glow with an eerie blue light. I am guiding the energy. The ship understands what we need. To everyone's amazement, the power readings stabilized. The Vendari weapon systems came online, drawing energy from the station in a controlled flow. Targeting systems integrated, Peter reported. We have weapons lock capability. 3 minutes. To optimal weapons range, the AI announced. A communication signal came through from the lead attacking vessel. A Vendari face appeared on screen. its skin patterns showing hatred. "Captain Lorax," the figure said, "you have betrayed our people by working with lesser species. Your punishment is at hand." Lorax, still connected to the ship, did not respond. Olivia stepped forward instead. "This is Chief Engineer Russell of Orbital Sanctuary. Your actions constitute an act of war against Earth and Vendari. Stand down immediately." The Heritage Guard leader laughed. "Humans, always believing you have authority. We will destroy this abomination of cooperation between our people." The transmission cut off. The three ships moved into attack formation. 2 minutes to optimal weapons range. The AI updated. Nicole studied the tactical display. "They're spreading out to hit us from 3 angles. Standard pincer attack." "Can we target all 3? Olivia asked. "Not simultaneously," Zenith replied. "Our remaining functional weapons can only track 2 targets at once." "Then, we focus on the lead ship first," Olivia decided. "Ready defensive shields." Another shockwave hit the station as the enemy vessels fired again, closer this time. "Shields at 60%, the AI reported. 1 minute to optimal weapons range. Lorax suddenly opened his eyes. "They are charging their main weapons. The attack will come in 40 seconds. But we need them closer for our weapons to be effective," Frank said. Olivia looked at each member of her team, then at the Vendari crew. Humans and aliens working together against impossible odds. She made her decision. "Hold fire until my command. Divert all non-essential power to shields." The seconds ticked by with agonizing slowness. The enemy ships grew larger on the view screen. 30 seconds, the AI announced. "Shields at maximum," Susan reported. 20 seconds. "Enemy weapons fully charged," Nicole warned. 10 seconds. Olivia took a deep breath. "On my mark. Fire." The station and ship trembled as their combined weapon systems unleashed energy toward the approaching vessels. At the same moment, the enemy ships opened fire. A blinding flash filled the view screen as the attacks met in space. The view screen cleared to show one of the enemy ships spinning away, its hull breached. Their combined weapons had found their mark. The other 2 vessels, however, remained intact and were circling for another attack. "Direct hit on the lead ship," Nicole reported. "The other 2 are changing formation." The station rocked violently as enemy fire struck their shields. "Shields down to 30%, Susan called out. "One more hit like that and they'll fail completely." Olivia turned to Frank. "Can we boost power to the weapons for another round?" He shook his head. "Not without overloading the entire system. We're already pushing past safety limits." "Captain," Lorax, still connected to his ship's neural interface, spoke in a strained voice. "There is another option. The ship's living metal. If I direct its energy through the weapons array, it could provide one final surge of power." Zenith moved to his captain's side, alarm patterns flashing across his skin. "Sir, using the hull's regenerative energy would leave us vulnerable. The ship would be unable to heal itself." "And what about you?" Diane asked. "The neural feedback could be dangerous." Lorax's 4 eyes focused on the damaged enemy vessel. "We have no choice. Prepare for the surge on my command." The 2 remaining enemy ships launched another volley. The station shuddered under the impact. "Shields critical," the AI announced. "Breach on levels 3 and 4. "They're targeting our power connection to the Vendari ship," Peter realized. "One more hit and we lose the weapons link." Lorax closed his eyes. His skin began to glow with an intense blue light that spread through the control panels and into the ship's hull. "Now!" Diane activated the sequence. Power surged through their makeshift system with such force that several conduits burst in, showers of sparks. The Vendari weapons fired. Not the controlled beam of before, but a wild pulse of energy that engulfed both enemy ships. For a moment, everything on the station went dark. Emergency lights flickered on to reveal smoke-filled corridors and damaged equipment. On the view screen, the remaining enemy vessels drifted, their systems disabled by the energy surge. "We did it," Susan whispered in disbelief. Zenith helped Captain Lorax disconnect from the neural interface. The captain slumped forward, his skin pale and patterns weak. "Captain!" Olivia rushed to his side. "Is he all right?" The strain was tremendous, Zenith explained. He channeled too much of the ship's energy. Both will need time to recover. Frank checked the sensor readings. The Heritage Guard ships are disabled but not destroyed. Life support seems functional. And our reinforcements? Olivia asked. Nicole consulted her comm unit. Admiral Patterson reports 15 minutes until our patrol ships arrive. They'll secure the enemy vessels. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. The Earth patrol ships arrived to take the Heritage Guard members into custody. Repair. Teams worked to stabilize both the station and the Vendari vessel. Medical staff tended to the injured, including Captain Lorax, who remained in a healing trance. 3 days later, Olivia stood in the observation lounge, watching as final repairs were completed on the Vendari ship. The living metal of the hull had begun to regenerate, slowly closing the wounds that had brought them to the station in the first place. Quite a sight, isn't it? Admiral Patterson said, joining her at the window. Never thought I'd see a Vendari ship healing itself at one of our stations. It's been an educational experience for everyone, Olivia replied. The Admiral nodded. The Vendari High Council has sent an official message of thanks. Apparently, this incident has exposed a larger Heritage Guard plot within their government. Your actions may have prevented a major diplomatic incident. It wasn't just me, Olivia said. It was the whole team, human and Vendari, working together. Speaking of which, the Admiral gestured toward the entrance. Captain Lorax entered, accompanied by Zenith and several other Vendari officers. His skin had recovered its normal coloration and vibrant patterns. Engineer Russell, he greeted her. I wish to speak with you before our departure. You're leaving already? She asked, surprised. Our ship has recovered enough for travel thanks to your team's efforts. Lorax's mouth flaps curved, and what Olivia had learned was a Vendari smile. But that is not why I am here. He handed her a small device with elegant Vendari markings. This contains technical specifications for our quantum filtration system. The High Council has authorized this knowledge to be shared with your station as thanks for your assistance. Olivia stared at the device in shock. This is unprecedented. As was your willingness to help us despite our initial reluctance, Lorax replied. I have also submitted a formal recommendation that Orbital Sanctuary be designated as an official repair facility for all Vendari vessels traveling through this sector. Admiral Patterson raised his eyebrows. That would be a significant diplomatic development. It is practical as well, Zenith added. Your engineers have proven their ability to adapt to our technology. Few species possess such flexibility of thought. The Vendari delegation departed the next morning. As the stellar horizon pulled away from the station, its hull now showing only faint traces of the damage that had brought it there, Olivia gathered her team in the repair bay. Well, she said, looking at their tired but proud faces. I'd call that a successful job. Just another day at the office, Frank joked, though the pride in his voice was unmistakable. I have a feeling it won't be our last Vendari customer, Diane said, already studying the quantum filtration data they'd been given. 6 months later, Olivia's prediction proved correct. Not only did Vendari ships regularly visit Orbital Sanctuary, but vessels from a dozen other species began to appear as well, all requesting the human repair approach. The station expanded to meet demand. New repair bays were constructed. The team grew as more engineers were brought in and trained in Olivia's methods. Frank Morrison established a training program specifically focused on adaptive engineering techniques for alien technology. A year after the Stellar Horizons emergency, docking, Admiral Patterson presided over the official opening of the expanded facility. What began as an emergency repair has blossomed into something much greater, he told the assembled crowd of humans and representatives from 14 alien species. Orbital Sanctuary now stands as a symbol of cooperation between worlds. After the ceremony, Captain Lorax, now promoted to Fleet Commander Lorax, approached Olivia. Do you know, he said, there is a saying that has spread among the captains of many species. When faced with an engineering problem no one can solve, they say, take it to the humans. They'll fix anything. Olivia smiled. Not because we know everything? No, Lorax agreed, all four eyes focusing on her with respect. Because you're not afraid to learn. That is why alien captains trust human repair bays above all else. As she watched ships from across the galaxy docking at her station, Olivia realized they had built something unique. A place where the unknown wasn't feared but welcomed as a puzzle to be solved, where differences in technology became opportunities for innovation rather than barriers. And in a vast galaxy filled with specialists of all kinds, humanity had found its niche, not as the strongest or the most advanced, but as the species that could adapt to anything, fix the unfixable, and turn emergency repairs into lasting connections between worlds.